Hiya, I'm back again. I've got a VR to do and been a bit VR heavy in the last, I think it's probably my third one in about 4 days. I've also got another one to do as well, which actually wasn't, I'm going to do a VR. I wasn't asked to do one, and the video in question didn't ask for a VR, but it was like a topic that sort of grabbed my interest, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a VR. Right, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Bit of a Robocop versus Terminator there on the TV, but no, this is a VR to retro and import game in the UK. James, hello mate, thanks for tagging me in, really appreciate it. Although it's given me a bit of anxiety, this one, because I'm a bit of an overthinker at the best of times, and trying to choose top 10 games is just a recipe for me to, I don't know, dwell on it a bit too much. But give it a go. I mean, it's one of them things, if you ask me again in like a week, I'll probably give you like a different 10. But what I've tried to do is I've picked 10 of the 10 that sort of a mix of like the most impactful games and just some of my favourites. So it's, you know, it's a top 10. It's a top 10. It'll do. Come up for here and have a swig of tea. Once again, a Pete's Nestastic approved cup of Yorkshire tea. Nearly forgot the brand then. Yorkshire tea. A little splash of milk, no sugar. Yes. Right, let's crack on. Let's do. I've got two honourable mentions. First one is Frankenstein Jr. for the ZX Spectrum. I used to really like this game on the Spectrum. It was. I reckon this was probably the first game I got a bit obsessed with. It's nothing special, to be honest, but I just loved it. It was hard. I just used to remember playing this a lot. Didn't get very far in it. Sorry, the setup in here is less than ideal. Yeah, it's a really tough little game. You're sort of making your way around a castle, and you're trying to dig up bits and pieces. I think you dig up like body parts because you're wanting to. Do you know what? It's been so long since I played it that I can't actually remember the premise. But yeah, you're running around the castle. You're out in the castle grounds, digging things up, trying to avoid the ghost that's like in pursuit. There was a sequel of that as well called, I think it was either the Bride of Frankenstein or something else. And I don't see this mentioned a lot. There's a big Spectrum like sub community, and I don't see that come up a lot. This is my original copy. How it's stayed intact, all the case and that, I don't know. But yeah, that's a decent honourable mention. Play it on an emulator if you're sort of curious. Right, next is the first console game that I ever played, and it's Alex Kidd in Miracle World. Just remember going around my mate Dave's house back in the primary school days, and absolutely loving it. He had a Mark 1 Master System. Can't remember if this was built in or if he had the cart, but used to play this a lot. So yeah, that is it deserves an honourable mention because it's the first console game I ever played, and used to play it a lot on my Master System. I remember in the Sun, in one of the newspapers that my parents got on the weekend back in the day when they read the papers, there used to be a little section where they do like game cheats and information and stuff. And I remember this appeared one week, and it was in the underwater sections when you've got the octopus on the little pot. I never knew that if you took out if you killed him, you could go into the pot, into like a bonus area, and it's a bit anti-intuitive because it was like to get down into the pot. Anyone that's played it will know what I mean. You've got to like be quite persistent with it and wriggle back and forth, and eventually like you sink down. So that's just a memory that stands out. But yeah, that's second honourable mention, and that is Alex Kidd in Miracle World. Right. Do you know what? I've got a... Should I make... No, I'm not going to make a jump cut. Like a few people have had to do, I need a placeholder because... So my first game is Doom 2. I don't actually have a copy of Doom 2. So I was going to show it on the Switch, but I forgot to bring it in and I can't be bothered to go and get it now. Yeah, so Doom 2 with nothing to show for it. It was the first person shooter game I ever played. I remember playing it a lot around my mate's house. His stepdad had a PC, and my mate was telling me about this game where you like go around and shoot people and shoot monsters and stuff, and it just sounded amazing. I've never played Wolfenstein or anything like that at this point, so we spent a lot of time playing that in his stepdad's study. Absolutely loved it. Doom 2 in particular, I didn't play the first one until a bit later on. Absolutely loved Doom 2. I had a PC at the time, and I remember sourcing a copy of the game, and it was quite difficult to do so because it was all on discs. I think I had it, so I managed to source it from someone, gave the discs back, and then at some point I had to format the hard drive and I lost it. And then I remember seeing a family member that I saw very infrequently, maybe once a year, and he had been playing Doom 2 and he had the discs, and I think it was across, I don't know, 5 or 6 discs, floppy discs, and I remember being so thrilled that someone else had the discs, and I pinched them off him, asked to borrow them, and I weren't going to take no for an answer. I think he felt a little bit blown over by... I don't even think I asked. I think I was like, oh, you've got to let me take them home and install that again. I was only a little kid, but I was so excited to get that back, and fuck knows what happened to them discs. I don't think I took the best care of them. So yeah, my poor Uncle Les. But yeah, Doom 2, I've got nothing. I think I've got Doom on the Xbox One, but I'm not gonna show it. So yeah, let's just move on. The next one is also going to be a placeholder. So here we have Championship Manager Season 0102 with the most bizarrely broken box. I don't know how that happened. But the game that I want this to represent is Championship Manager 97-98. That is the one I rinsed. We went mad for that at school. It's the first one I played in the series, and I absolutely mullered it. And the data editor as well was fantastic. You could edit all the players and stuff to, if you didn't agree with their stats and things, you could go into the data editor and alter them. You could make new teams, you could make new players. So I remember we made like the school team and stuff. Yeah, I'm on the lookout for a nice big box copy of that at some point. That would be lovely to add to the old collection. So just for that makes the top 10 just for the amount of time I played it, for the fact we're all hammering it, and I could sit and play it now. Once I managed to get hold of a copy and a means to play it, I will definitely sink some, probably DOSBox or something like that. I will sink some serious time into that. Just an absolute classic. This is a worthy placeholder because this is the one I played the next after 97-98. After this, I kind of stopped playing them. Right, next up, not going in any. Let's say that they're in a loose order, not like an exact order, but again, it could change. This is too hard, man. Doing the top 10 games is too hard. Right, next, NBA Jam talked about this on every other video I've made. I couldn't be bothered to take out the box protector, so sorry about that. But yeah, what a game. You don't need to like sports games to play this. I've told this story before as well. Went round a mate's house a few months ago, and he just hacked his PlayStation 1 Mini. And I said, let's play NBA Jam. He'd never played it before. He had a load of SNES ROMs on there and stuff. And I've been playing this my whole life. It was my mate's first go. And basketball's obviously an end-to-end sport, and we both scored quite a lot of points. And I only beat him by like 3 or 4 points. And I've been playing it a lifetime, and it was his first go. Just, it shows you how pick-up and playable it is. Yeah, NBA Jam had to make the top 10. Bit of a grail if I can maybe one day get an NBA an arcade cab. I'd love to get my hands on one of them. Time and, well, not time, room and money permitting. From what I've read, they did make a lot of those, so it's attainable, but it's just money and room. Right, moving on. Next up, N64 game, and it's an N64 wrestling game, because the N64 is the home of the best wrestling games ever made. No debates. It was a choice between WCW NWO Revenge or this one, and I went with this one. WWF No Mercy. Me and maybe half a dozen mates played this so much. We all mastered it. Absolutely mastered it. And the matches we used to have against each other, 'cause we used to have ladder matches and all that stuff. And the matches would just go on forever, because we'd all got to such a... We'd got as good as... I reckon we got to the point where we were as good as it's possible to be on this game. We just understood it inside out. So our matches used to go on forever, and just great times. What I'd like to do is, bearing in mind like battery life on cartridges, I'd love to capture some footage of like creations that I made on this cartridge, because there will come a point where the battery runs out and I'll lose all that. So it'd be nice to make a little video perhaps of all my created like on the roster and stuff. That'd be good. So yeah, this had to be in there. WWF No Mercy, probably the best wrestling game ever made. Right, next up are 2 Xbox 360 games, and they sort of go hand in hand. And the first one is Skyrim. This is the first Elder Scrolls game I ever played. It's also the first game of this type, any type really, that I've played. This sort of fantasy setting, as far as I can remember. Absolutely loved it. Did every side quest, went through every guild, did everything there was to do pretty much. Got all the DLC, hundreds of hours into it, and I didn't want it to end. Brilliant game. So this was, and I used to play, admittedly I played it on easy. I didn't want combat to be too challenging, because this was my chill out game. So we're talking 10 years ago now this came out, and I played it for 2 or 3 years after release, and it was my chill out game. And the perfect antidote to this, which is the next game in the top 10, Call of Duty Black Ops, the first one. This is the first COD that I properly got into and played online. It just came about at the perfect time as well, because there was a little period where I'd left my job and I was out of work, and a few of my mates were also out of work, and then I was doing like bits and bobs and private jobs and sort of generally a bit part-time for a few years, and so were they, and we just hammered this all day and all night. And then for the next 2 or 3 Call of Duties afterwards, we were still intact, and then it started getting a bit futuristic and stuff, and then we kind of stopped playing it and moved on to other things. But yeah, just absolutely hammered this. It was my first Call of Duty, as I say, so there was a bit of a learning curve. I was never the best Call of Duty player. I think by the time it got to Call of Duty Ghosts, I'd got up to, I was pushing a 2 KD ratio, if that means anything to anyone. It's not the best, but for me that was really decent. But I must admit, on Call of Duty Ghosts, it was down to me and a mate just camping sort of pinch spots and watching each other's backs and stuff. But this was what it was all about, and honestly, we used to play like capture the flag, and we'd have like, because it was teams of 6, and it'd be like two watching our flag, 2 on the attack with like the lightweight perks, and 2 midfielders, if you like, and they'd be screaming down the headset and stuff, and loved it, just loved it. Don't really play Call of Duty anymore. Not to say I wouldn't get back into it, but I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, good times. But it does frustrate, which is why Skyrim was such a good game to switches off and go and play Skyrim. It's just the perfect chill out game afterwards. But this gets in the top 10 because it was just my multiplayer days, really, the peak of them. So that's in the top 10. Right, down to the last 4, and we're on 16 minutes. So this has gone on longer than it should. Right, talked about this game before. I think I talked about this on Desert Island Games with Russ. Red Dead Redemption 2. This is the only game that I ever played, and well, I say we, me and some mates sat and spoke to each other over Xbox. I mean, because Xbox Live's good for that anyway. Sitting and chatting with your mates and stuff. They might be playing different things, but you've got that social side when you're on your headset. But we're all playing this, like the single player campaign, and we're all talking to each other. And it's the only time I ever remember that happening. It was just an epic game. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I absolutely love this. Absolutely love this. And I will probably play it again. It's a big game, but I probably will play it again. But I'll wait till I can play it 4K. Everyone knows about Red Dead Redemption 2, whether you're a fan of it or not. It's a Rockstar game, obviously. Yeah, just loved it. Absolutely loved it. I never played it online, but that's not what I want from a Red Dead game, to be honest. Yeah, great stuff, and that is a worthy place in the top 10 for me. Right, down to the next, well, the final 3, and this selection is a bit of a, I'm going to cheat a little bit and call this a placeholder. This is going to represent the entire series, with a couple of exceptions, admittedly. Resident Evil. Now, the Cube version of this one, Resident Evil 1, is the first one I played. Didn't have a PlayStation. I was an N64 lad at school, but I knew about Resident Evil because all the PlayStation kids were talking about it, and I always wanted to play it. But it was the GameCube when I first had my first experience with it, and this is a remake, obviously, and it's fantastic. So I could really have shown Resident Evil 2 here, either the original or the remake, maybe even Resident Evil 7 I considered, because I think that is a quality game as well. But yeah, this is the one that started it all for me, and as I say, I'm gonna call this a representation of the whole franchise, because I just love it. I'm working my way through them at the moment, just unlocking more achievements and stuff on the Xbox, just replaying them. I just don't get bored of them. So yeah, Resident Evil. Right. Yeah. I'm gonna I'm going to agree with Retro Red Steve because I've watched his VR, and he honestly he could take the words straight out of my mouth. I agree 100% with something he said, and I thought it was very well put. So the game is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and do you know what? I think I couldn't have put it better, Steve. I think this is the best game ever made by a distance. Just my opinion. Not similar to Steve. It's not necessarily my favourite game, but I just it took me like 10 hours to get into this because I played Ocarina of Time. That was my first entry into the series. Loved it. Played Majora's Mask. Loved it. What was after that? Twilight Princess. Loved it. Wind Waker. Didn't play. I have got it now. Maybe one day. And the one on the Wii I didn't play either. Skyward Sword. So I didn't really see myself going back and playing the Zelda game again. But I ended up getting a Switch, and I knew that I'd get this. And it was I played it with a little bit of trepidation, thinking I'm a bit too old to play Zelda now, and I've had my Zelda fix with the two N64 games and the GameCube game. And for the first 10 hours, I kind of I don't know, I wasn't convinced. I mean, I could see that there was a learning curve, and it was something impressive. But for the first 10 hours, I was feeling it out, and I thought I might actually not get too far in this game. I'm not really feeling it. And I went away and played something else and put this down. And I came back to it I don't know, it was probably a few months later. I came back and I thought, right, I'm going to give this one more chance. I'm going to give myself a real chance of getting into this. 10 hours in, as I say. Not really done a lot, so yeah, I hadn't missed like a massive chunk of the story. And almost, I think, so I turned it back on, started playing it, and within an hour, I was hooked, absolutely hooked. So I've put 200 hours into this now, finished it a while ago, did not want it to end. Did not want it to end. I'm going a bit overboard. I don't see how games can get any better than that. I don't know. I mean, like I say, it's not my favourite game necessarily. I just don't know where gaming goes after that. Perfection, honestly. I know some people don't like the certain mechanics in the game. I disagree. This has made Skyrim unplayable for me because I sort of try to go back and play it on the cube, and glitching my way through the mountains and stuff. Because you can't climb, but you can climb any surface, near enough any surface on this game, any mountain, and you've got a stamina bar and you build that up. And that dynamic has just made Skyrim unplayable for me. Yeah, so I've possibly been going over the top, but that's my opinion. I just think this is a fucking brilliant game. And it's one of them that it's a big investment to buy a Nintendo Switch and then spend 50 quid on this because they hold their value. So I'd let people make their own mind up because it is a big investment. But for me, this is easily worth the investment in a Switch on its own. Brilliant game. Interesting to see what they do for the sequel. Oh, right, I've tired myself out talking about that. So the final game in my top 10 is Super Mario World, and I've talked about this before as well. This is where the nostalgia is at for me. This, in my opinion, is platforming at its best, and it's the best Mario game, and everything about it is spot on, and it's right up there. It's right up there. That had to be in my top 10. It just absolutely had to be, and I'm really pleased that I've got a relatively nice box copy of this. So that's the top 10. So that was a tough one, but cheers to James at Retro and Import Gamer UK. Cheers for tagging us in. It was good fun to do that. Let's tag some people. Right, James, Flashback TNT. Absolutely love to see a top 10 from you, mate. I should have thought about this before. I knew I was going to tag James, but I've not thought beyond that. I don't think Ollie, 8-Bit Boy's done one, so I'm going to tag Ollie as well if he's watching this. It'd be really good to see your top 10 as well, mate. Right, I'm gonna stop it there. Cheers for watching if you've watched. Hope everyone has a nice new year, whatever you're up to tonight, and keep the content up in 2020. Look forward to seeing what everyone's up to. There'll be a little bit more from me, no doubt, as well. So yeah, let's call that a vid.